I need to tell you before we get started, I'm not a financial advisor, meaning that I'm not a licensed financial advisor, and I have not been approved to give financial advice. So what I'm giving you is my opinion, and I'm discussing what my thoughts are, my opinions, and how I do things. And being that I've been retiree lifestyle for almost 4 decades, this is my opinion, and let's get started.
Talking about how to retire with $200,000.
Oh, is that what we're talking about?
Most people in this space don't think about retiring on $200,000. And if they do, then they think it's some sort of extreme minimalism, a guy that lives in a house with no furniture, or maybe even a tiny house, or something kind of extreme like that, which isn't what we're talking about. What typically happens in this space is that generally a person, something happens in their life, and that's when they start thinking about how to make something like this happen. Like maybe they lost their job, or maybe something happened to their health, or whatever. In other words, people typically are forced into a situation where they think they have to do such a thing. Okay, so we're not saying that, we're going to show you how to live off of $200,000 for the rest of your life. We're saying that there's a different picture here. This picture is born out of our own experiences. Ideally, somebody would, at a minimum, have $200,000, but it doesn't mean that we even had that, because we didn't even have that, and yet we still did it. So we're going to just use the $200,000 as a figure for people to be able to conceptualize, okay? And so what we're talking about here is, for example, taking 1/4 of it, of the 200K, would be as, expenses. You have like 6 months worth of expenses, you have emergency money. I mean, we can talk about ways to minimize and mitigate how to fear losing income sources. And then this is something we did. It's part of the complete picture of how we did things throughout our lives without fear. And that, fear is real. People are afraid of losing their job because guess what? It's the only source of income they've got. So if they lose it, it's all gone, okay? To take another quarter would be to buy a fixer-upper. It is something that we did, and it is something that when you look at the complete picture of this idea is that number one, you remove the need to have to pay rent. Number two, you remove the need to have huge mortgages because you're going to pay cash for a fixer-upper without any mortgage. And number three, it's an additional form of a buffer where you aren't trying to be Mr. Real Estate Man like a lot of these channels talk about. Nothing wrong with business and real estate. I'm just saying that we're getting into this space from a different angle. And we're saying, look, we've lived our lives in the present moment, and this is one way to do it. So I'm not telling you that it's the only way, but that this one way that we did it, and we were able to achieve a work-life balance and happiness and enjoyment of every single day of your life. So this fixer idea isn't that you're going to be spending, all your time fixing the house because you're going to hurry up and flip it in 3 months. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about putting that buffer in your real estate area of your life where you're not subject to rent, you're not subject to huge mortgages, and at some point later, whenever it's convenient for you, you can sell it. You don't have to sell it, you can stay in it, or you can sell it 5 years down the road. If there's a bear market, you can wait. It's not about having any kind of pressure. On the contrary, it's about removing pressures. Take another quarter.
Is Bitcoin something you should be investing in? Well, I'll tell you, I think so. That's my opinion, and a lot of people aren't sure about Bitcoin. It's an asset class you have to ask yourself, do I trust this asset, and is there a reason to trust this asset? Is this asset trustworthy? Because a lot of people don't understand Bitcoin, they really need to do their due diligence on Bitcoin. And how do you do that? It's a new asset class. It's only been around just over 10 years. And the history of it is that, well, it has always gone up, but because it goes up so fast, it always comes down a lot. And so here's the great holy grail, if you've got to have one. Here are some reasons to believe in Bitcoin. I'll give you that. It is a limited supply. It's the complete opposite of paper money, where there's an endless supply. Even stocks have a sort of unlimited supply, whereas Bitcoin has a limited supply. Anytime a thing is limited in its supply, it's just a question of time before the demand catches up with the lack of supply and the price goes up. And that's what happens to Bitcoin. The other thing is that Bitcoin has a lot of qualities to it that a lot of asset classes don't. For example, you can't really pack up your real estate and go anywhere with it. Sure, you could get management and you could leave it behind, but that has its pros and cons to it. Gold and silver is the same way. Nothing wrong with gold and silver, but again, it's not super portable. I've read lots of stories of people having difficulty crossing borders with gold and silver. So in that respect, something like Bitcoin shines. And if you should be adding to it while the price is down, well, this is a great time to be doing that. And so is Bitcoin something you should be investing in? Well, I'll tell you, I think so. That's my opinion, and I'm sticking to that. The great thing about Bitcoin is that it can meet your needs depending on who you are. You could be a young person that's starting out. You can put a part of your savings into it, and you can be someone that's more mature, that maybe you feel like life has passed you by and you just didn't quite, you didn't seem to be able to get ahead. And maybe you didn't quite ever come up with that $1 million idea, and or maybe you did and it flopped, and all these reasons why we can sometimes feel like life has passed us by in a financial sense. But not if you've been living retiree lifestyle all along. You will never get on that train. We encourage people to live their lives regardless what their station in life is live your life so that you don't have to feel like you've wasted your life. But if you are someone that would like to do better financially, Bitcoin could just be the ticket. It's one of the greatest opportunities actually of our lifetime. You just have to kind of wait for these bear markets. These bear markets tend to last around 2 or 3 years. They're pretty long and they're pretty deep.
To take another quarter, and so there you are with the $200,000, okay? And so what have you done? Well, you removed one of the biggest expenses in life, which is real estate, number one. And by the way, I know what you're thinking, you can't get a fixer-upper with $50,000. Well, you definitely can. I've had multiple opportunities to be able to buy fixer-uppers for $20,000 to $30,000, and then another $20,000 to $30,000 to fix it, and there's your $40,000 to $50,000. So there's definitely opportunity there to do it. Maybe there's not an opportunity to do it in your neighborhood. If you're in California or some really expensive state, that just means that you may want to move to, you may want to move, to the next town over or the next state over, whatever. So the figure is not a hard and fast rule. I mean, you've got areas where you may have to go a little higher for your fixer-upper. I mean, you may have to go to 80 or 90. So there's some flexibility there. Because, the retail prices of houses could be 100, 150 on the low end. So to be able to get one for 20 or 25 or 30, I'm telling you right now, I had multiple opportunities of doing it. There are opportunities out there, and how to uncover those opportunities and how to put a plan like this in motion where you're just really only working on a part-time level and are able to meet your necessary expenses. This is a picture that you have building blocks that you put together. It's not just the 200K, it's the 200K plus being savvy about your expenses, being smart about putting the whole puzzle together, making it work so that you can literally, with $200,000, remove the fear out of your life, add back the time that you want, the balanced life that you want, the time for friends, for family, for hobbies. Have it all, in other words. Take care of your health and not put this aside for 20 to 30 years. Which, by the way, back in the day when I was starting out in this space, the school of thought that was being promoted at the time was that you had to consider putting away enough money for your retirement. The premise was to maintain the present lifestyle in conjunction with the same expenses that you have in the present lifestyle that you have in your building years while you're building up to your retirement. I saw it like Swiss cheese. Sooner or later, it just was full of holes. Because, number one, there are savvy and smart ways of managing your expenses, and some of the most notable personal finance bloggers on the internet right now will tell you that the very most important part of this puzzle is how savvy you are at spending money. And not just because of the money you save, but because of the skills you learn, and yes, they do call it a skill, the skill that you learn on how to live well, not in an austerity program or not being on an extreme minimalism or austerity program, but actually how to live as if you were on a fat program. They call it fat fire, and yet do it on, a certain level of money that would normally be understood as being some kind of really crazy frugalist. We call it industrious, professional, retire early frugalism, or Somebody that was watching us talk about this and came up with that acronym, and we're just going, wow, that sounds kind of neat. Vlog.
Come vi chiamate?
Franco, e tu come ti chiami?
Robby.
Robby?
Angie.
Piacere.
Grazie. The water isn't cold, is it?
I feel the Humboldt current. All right, we're in Europe.
Yep, tourist season gearing up. Time for us to exit stage airport. Get on a bus, Gus. Make a new plan, Stan. You don't need to be coy, Roy. Set yourself free of the madness of crowds. All right. We can do it. We can do it, folks. We can do it.
What are you doing, Frank?
I'm just enjoying this really hospitable airport.